I spend a lot of my time in meetings with good mayors up and down this country, and it's a great opportunity to come and be able to talk with you all here at once. You'll have to forgive me for speaking very plainly and very directly. And frankly, the tough times that New Zealand finds itself in actually demands that I do so. And so New Zealand is facing big infrastructure challenges: water, transport, resilience. And each of these will be absolutely critical for us to get right. And we're also taking a hard look at a range of rules and regulations that frankly incur costs that then central government directly loads onto councils. So we're doing our part, and I put the challenge that I think it's time for local government to do theirs. Ratepayers expect local government to do the basics, and to do the basics brilliantly. Pick up the rubbish, fix the pipes, fill in the potholes, and more generally, maintain the local assets quickly, carefully, and cost effectively. But nothing in life is free, and ratepayers therefore expect to pay for it in exchange. But let me be blunt, what they don't expect to pay for is a laundry list of distractions and experiments that are plaguing council balance sheets across the country. I think the building that we're in today is a classic example, with pipes bursting, and quite literally this morning, pipes bursting in the streets not far from here, and other infrastructure under pressure. Wellington City Council decided to spend $180 million of ratepayers' money on a convention centre, which according to public reporting is now losing money. And it looks very nice, and it's great, and it's very nice for us politicians to have a wonderful space to make some great speeches in. But can anyone seriously say that was the right financial decision or the highest possible priority for Wellington, given all of its challenges? Ratepayers, I'd put it to you, are sick of white elephants and are sick of non-delivery. And so my challenge to all of us is to rein in the fantasies and to get back to delivering the basics brilliantly. Now, councillors often tell me, councillors often tell me that they agree with all of that, but there's a problem. They just need more help from central government, usually in the form of cold, hard cash. And I have to be honest with you, the previous government might have taken that approach, but that party is over. And there is no magic money tree sitting here in Wellington, thanks to the previous government's economic mismanagement and vandalism. And frankly, shifting your costs onto taxpayers doesn't save anyone any money. It means that ratepayers pay more tax, and they're left with less of their own money to meet the cost of a slightly smaller rates bill. Or it means that we spend less on health and education so that councils can avoid tightening their belts, exactly as Kiwi families, businesses and central government have had to do across New Zealand. We do want to work closer together, and there will be new revenue tools for councils where that makes sense, but the days of handouts are over. Cabinet has agreed to review the transparency and accountability rules that apply to councils. It's unacceptable that the rules as they stand today allow unelected officials, in many cases, to prevent elected members from accessing the information that they need to represent their communities, and we'll review those settings. There have been too many absurd scenarios in which ratepayers are effectively shut out of decision-making because elected members' rights to access information are treated as a secondary consideration, and my expectation is that we'll find a way to end those practices. In central government, we're getting on with the job. We're stopping the wasteful spending, we're shifting money from the back office and the bureaucracy to the front line, we're setting clear delivery targets and expectations to hold ourselves accountable to, we're prioritising what to do and what not to do, and we're letting Kiwis keep more of their own money and what they earn. And my parting message is, I think it's time for us all to work together on that agenda. Go line by line, stop the wasteful spending, remove the bureaucracy, focus on customer service, end the projects that aren't delivering value for money. Ratepayers don't expect much, but they want the basics done brilliantly. And what I say is we'll play our part, I hope you will play yours, and I'm confident that by working together we can actually achieve a lot for New Zealanders: better infrastructure, much better infrastructure, and more resilient communities, all at an affordable price for ratepayers. Thank you very much. We want a good partnership with local government, but we obviously want local government also focusing on the basics and getting the job done and delivering for ratepayers as well, and that's what a lot of my initial opening remarks and provocation was about. I think that the councils need to make sure that they are actually managing ratepayers' money incredibly well. We want to see councils focusing on the basics. There's very clear responsibilities they have around rubbish, roads, water. Those are the clear mandated responsibilities, but ultimately if they're going to spend money outside of that, we're actually going to say, well, there should be price caps so that
that ratepayers who ultimately are bearing the burden and bearing the brunt are not just constantly seeing their rates bill go up. We want to see investment in those core infrastructure elements, but we actually want to see cost under control in those other areas. Ultimately, it's about actually maintaining cost control for councils, and what we're seeing is we're not seeing that, and we're standing in a building which basically screams that they have not been doing that appropriately.
How on earth do you have a city like Wellington where today our pipes break not very far from this complex here? And so what has been going on around the investment in water assets? What is happening on the core challenges?
We've also said very clearly when it comes to the areas that need to be, which aren't core, such as roads, rubbish, water, such as, if you're going to build, social infrastructure like we're sitting in here, actually there needs to be some element of revenue capping so that we're not just allowing councils to pass those costs on to ratepayers for a building which isn't actually even making money. So, and the pipes are bursting outside.
And to be honest, we've seen councils get distracted, and so we're making it very clear, given we've got a big investment. I think we've got well over 1,000 elected officials across this country in local government and many local governments and district councils, that we expect results and we expect them to deliver for ratepayers in the same way we're delivering for taxpayers, in the same way that families have had to tighten their belts and so have businesses. We're just making sure that any gross misspending on non-core stuff that doesn't make a difference to people's daily lives at a time when the whole country is challenged. We are looking at New Zealand. Just remember, government spending went up 84%. Debt is now over $100 billion. We're spending $8 to $9 billion in interest bills each year, money that we can't spend on health or education or roads or other things we might like to do. So it's tough times for New Zealand. We're making sure that councils understand you've got tough times too, and we expect you not just to transfer money from central government to local government and actually then have less money to spend for taxpayers. There are many councils and mayors that are doing a fantastic job up and down this country, a sensational job, and that we appreciate that it's been difficult for everybody in a cost of living crisis thanks to the previous government's load of inflation that we've all been dealing with. But what I just say to you is what we're not tolerating is wasteful spending. We want councils to be really attuned and have financial discipline at the heart of what they're doing. So get clear on the prioritisation of projects, get clear on what you can and can't afford, cut your cloth accordingly to make sure that you can deliver your budget and the set of projects that you've got on board, that they are the most important projects, the ones that will make the biggest difference and have the most value for people. In the same way that New Zealand families have had to adjust their belts, the same way that New Zealand businesses have actually gone to the wall and had to adjust their belts, in the same way that central government is adjusting its belt, as you've been seeing, we're just expecting the same expectation on councils. We're very comfortable with councils having Māori wards. That's fantastic. All it is a principle of localism and devolution, that goes back to local communities to make that decision. That's not something that should be imposed from Wellington centrally, which is what happened under the previous administration. That's why we opposed it in opposition, and that's why all we've done is pulled it back to where it once was and said, local communities, you make that decision in the spirit of local democracy. That's your decision. If you want to have Māori wards, fantastic, absolutely brilliant. But it should be a decision made by local communities. And what we want to do is see much more professional management of infrastructure in New Zealand. That means that we need to have clear 30-year pipeline. It means that we've got to have city regional deals of 10-year durations, and we have to have national infrastructure agencies that actually can access funding and financing so that we can actually have a better shot at getting this infrastructure built, because on council or government balance sheets we won't be able to do it in a hurry. Okay, thanks so much. Appreciate it.